Welcome and thank you so much for checking out the second ever installment of Rapid Fire Reviews. This is just a video that I do from time to time where I catch up on a few reviews that I've missed along the year. Some of these I just didn't have time, some of these I simply forgot because the movie wasn't that good, but this is a mega-sized one. I did one earlier this year, like at the end of the summer, and now to finish the year strong, I'm just going to recap quickly some of these movies and grade them. These are just going to be smaller reviews than I usually do for each film. So let's get started because there's a lot of movies that I need to talk about. And I'm going to start with Cold Pursuit, a film that came early in the year starring Liam Neeson. It's another action-y type of film with the old man going after a gang that killed his son. And then there's a subplot of Native Americans involved, also a gang, the mafia of the Native Americans, and this movie was just a mess. The editing was a mess, the tone was a mess. It reminded me of Alien Resurrection. You probably know the story that Joss Whedon wrote that script thinking of one tone, and then the director directed that movie with a completely serious, very dramatic tone that just didn't fit the script. This film is that, but even more confusing because I don't know if the script was comedic or dramatic, and I'm sure the direction was the opposite, but I don't know if that was comedic or dramatic. There are moments in this movie that are just baffling to me. Some of the choices are just idiotic. When a movie tries to be funny, you're not sure if it is trying to be funny. And then there's this thing at the end that I'm sure that was trying to be funny, but it came on the completely wrong moment. My god, this movie is just a complete incoherent mess. I couldn't get into it, not even for Liam Neeson's sake. And this was a remake of a Swedish movie from the same director and same screenwriter. They're one person in the same. I don't know if the Swedish film is good, but this one certainly wasn't. I'm giving Cold Pursuit an F. So as you can see, we're starting off strong, but we're going to change the tone right now a little bit because I also watched recently the Angry Birds movie 2. This was a complete change from the first one. I mean, not complete change. I thought the first one was serviceable. It was fine. It wasn't too horrible, but it wasn't good either. This one is pretty solid. I had a lot of fun with this film. There's a bird in an icy island who's trying to conquer over the pig island and the main bird island, and so the pigs and the birds, the ones we know from the first movie, have to team up and stop her plans. And then there's this whole actually really funny backstory to her. It's pretty obvious but still works on a comedic side, and our hero still has to learn a lesson about working in a team and about sharing credit because of his fear of being rejected by the birds once more. I thought this film worked really well for what it was. It's funny, it's energetic, the animation is pretty damn good. I thought the animation in the first one was already good, but they clearly improved upon it in this one. The Angry Birds 2 certainly would go into my most surprising movies this year, but there's nothing too innovative in it either. As I said, the villain's backstory is funny and it works, but you've seen it before, same as our hero's main story, and our supporting characters basically do the same thing they were doing in the first film. The dynamics don't change a lot. There are just sparkles of funny in this one that really do work. I'm giving the Angry Birds movie 2 a B-. And another animation I saw, it was way too late in the game, that's why I couldn't catch up on it and other movies took priority, was the Addams Family. I thought this was fine. I thought the animation looked great. I thought there were a lot of great ideas, and you know the story of the Addams Family. They're this weird, kooky, supernatural, I'd say, family, and they try to live normally amongst normal people. But then there's this village near their house, and this real estate agent for a television show wants to redo their house. I thought that completely overtook the movie. The B-plot, which takes like 20 minutes of the movie and not more, is Wednesday trying to go to school and act like a normal girl and hang out with normal girls and trying to create a normal life, and she actually wants that. That was much more interesting than this main plot line that just ran out of fumes about 40 minutes into the film. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was stagnating the film, and they just didn't stop until the end. There's a good lesson in it, but it just wasn't funny or engaging, and I got pretty bored with it. I'm giving the Addams Family movie a C. Now I'm going to talk about Serenity, a very special movie that came out earlier in the year, starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, directed by Stephen Knight, and it tells the story of this fisherman who is hired by his ex-wife to kill her current husband, played by Jason Clarke. That's all I really want to say, because this film is insane. This film goes bananas, but everyone is acting it out, and it's written in this way where it's supposed to be this high-end drama, where it's probably going for the Oscar, and everyone is really invested in it. But then something happens in this film. I'm not going to say what it is, I don't want to spoil it, but I am going to tell you there's a twist. Because you've probably seen this movie as you're watching this video anyway, but I don't want to tell you what it is. There is a twist, there is a reveal about 45 minutes into this film, maybe an hour. And it's fucking insanity. My god, and they continue playing it straight from then on. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe that this was happening in this framing, in this package of seriousness and of drama that it was happening in. It's a total recommend for me, but it's something that is really weird. Until that twist, until that reveal, the film, it's not like I thought it was good, but it was fine. And I'm watching this saying, what's the end game here? What are we leading to? What we lead to is completely bonkers, but it's entertaining as shit. I'm giving Serenity a D. And now for another movie that could make it into my most surprising movies of the year, Child's Play, starring Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. You know the drill, a kid gets this doll, and then this doll gets so attached to this kid that he starts hurting and killing everyone who harms this kid physically, psychologically, emotionally, you name it, until he goes completely insane and just starts murdering everyone. I am not a fan of any of the Child's Play movies up until today. Not the first one, not the second one, the third one, or the 20th one. How many they've made, I don't know, but they've made a lot of unnecessary ones. I actually had quite a fun time with this film. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't ask me to really fear this doll. The film has a lot of fun with it. It's not like it's insanity. It's not like it's very gory or horrific. There aren't that many kills in it, but they were really smart to adapt Chucky into having an AI in it, and then the AI goes out of control. Again, that innovation gives it a bit of a punch, but it also makes it go into this territory that we've seen 1,000 times by now. So it's innovative for Chucky, but I can't say it's innovative as a whole. I'm giving Child's Play 2019 a C+. I also saw What Men Want this year. It came out really late in the UK, that's why I didn't review it at the time I reviewed it. It was already too late in the game, and the movie is not that good. This woman smokes weed. That's the update we get right here, and she starts hearing the thoughts of men. But that eventually doesn't even play that big a role in the film. It's useful for her, and it does advance the story, but eventually when it comes to the conclusion, it's just so blah. It almost plays no impact into what was happening and how he closed things out in this film. Also, it's really, really not funny. It's really not funny. It's a bore to watch. It feels like they had this idea, but then they just made sketches, and then they collaged these sketches together because they all have the same quote-unquote theme, and they presented this in movie format and sold it to movie theaters, and there we have it. I'm not that big a fan of the original one with Mel Gibson. I think it has this charm, but it also runs out of fumes after a while. This one doesn't have any of the few good elements that the original one had. I thought it was a good idea to remake it, gender bend it, because the original one has Mel Gibson and that creates all sorts of troubles nowadays for some people. I understand it, and I'm a fan of Taraji P. Henson, but this film just doesn't work. I'm giving What Men Want an F. And this is probably the earliest movie I've seen out of all of the ones I reviewed thus far, and that is Escape Room. It came out in late January in the UK, so I wasn't going to review it then. It was already too late to talk about it. I had a lot of fun with this film. I don't know what people are complaining about. Look, it's not going to be in my top 10 best movies of 2019. It's not going to be that. The ending of this film is really fucking stupid. really almost insultingly stupid, but I can't wait to see the sequel. I actually had a lot of fun with this film. I love the traps, I love what the characters have to do to get out of the traps. I actually felt myself being endeared to some of these characters, and they are all very different, so there's a good dynamic, good back and forth that is created and generated and thrown around throughout the entire film. Again, the ending is really stupid. Some of the traps don't make sense, but I really enjoyed watching it. I'm giving Escape Room a C. I also watched The Friend this year, and I don't know if I'm going to have a poster to put in here along with the other ones I've done so far. I was waiting for some trailers, some images to come out about this film. I watched it at the London Film Festival, and I really like it. It's about this true story where a woman gets cancer, and her best friend moves in to help her husband, played by Casey Affleck, take care of just life and their daughters. And this has an incredible cast of Dakota Johnson, Jason Segel, Casey Affleck, as I said. All of them give incredible performances, especially in this one moment where Casey Affleck goes to pick up the older of the two daughters from school, and the cancer has been in their lives for a long time at this point. And there's this moment where I don't even remember what the daughter says to him, but she says something to him that attacks him, that hurts him. And the camera just sits there looking at the rear view mirror, and you see Casey Affleck through the rear view mirror, and it's another example of his subdued acting that is magnificent. But I really liked this film. Structurally, it is very familiar. It doesn't do anything new in it. I didn't necessarily have a problem with it. I wouldn't call it a problem, but it's one of the things that I didn't necessarily like either about the film. I'm giving The Friend a B+. And the last movie that I saw that I'm going to talk about today is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's a French film. It tells the story of this painter who is sent to paint this woman who's about to get married, but this woman doesn't know that the painter is there to paint her. She just thinks she is a companion for walks, and eventually they start feeling attracted to each other. I was not a fan of this film. It's not a bad movie. It's not something that I can call a bad movie. I certainly understand why people love it, and this film is certainly shot brilliantly. The colors, the length of the shots, the choices of close-ups, of wide shots, of travelings. It's an amazingly shot movie. I also love the score in it. The score is utterly eerie, it's haunting, it stays with you, and the performances are good. But I just couldn't get into this story. It was so something that I've seen before, something that I saw this way before. It's something that is just fine, but it's captured in this beautiful framing that deserves all the word of mouth that it is getting. And if you have not seen it, please watch it, because everyone else is loving it. I just didn't. I'm giving Portrait of a Lady on Fire a C+. And those are all the films that I had missed on reviewing up until this point. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful geekies, and happy almost New Year. Tomorrow I have my best and worst lists coming on, and on the 1st of January, my most anticipated movies for 2020. I'll also have a review for The Grudge this week, and I hope to see you there. Once more, thank you so much for watching. You're one of the best, and check out all my reviews from 2019. I'll leave a playlist at the end of this video. Thank you so much. Until the next video, don't forget to subscribe and like, because it really helps me out. But of course, remember to stay beautiful, stay geeky, but most importantly, love each other and love the movies.